Sidney Crosby's powerful message to the NHL began spreading just days ago, not through a press conference, not through a headline announcement, but through action on the ice. On January 20th, 2026, during a road game in Seattle, Crosby reached a career milestone that few players ever touch. Within hours, the numbers, the context, and his words were being repeated across the league. Sidney Crosby played his 1/400th NHL game on January 20th, 2026, when the Pittsburgh Penguins faced the Seattle Kraken. The game took place in Seattle and ended in a 6-3 win for Pittsburgh. Crosby recorded 2 assists during the game. Those assists directly contributed to goals that helped secure the victory. At the end of that night, Crosby's career regular season point total reached 1,742. That number placed him third in NHL history for points recorded through a player's first 1/400 games. Only Wayne Gretzky and Marcel Dionne had more points at the same point in their careers. One of Crosby's assists came in the third period. He assisted on a goal scored by Rickard Rakell. That goal extended Pittsburgh's lead and shifted the momentum of the game. Crosby added another assist earlier in the game, continuing his role as a primary playmaker. With those 2 assists added, Crosby's combined regular season and playoff total reached 1,943 points. That moved him past Ron Francis on the NHL's all-time combined points list. At that moment, Crosby ranked 5th all-time in combined points. Only Wayne Gretzky, Mark Messier, Jaromir Jagr, and Gordie Howe remained ahead of him. Crosby reached the 1/400 game mark at age 38. During the 2025-26 season, he ranked 5th in the NHL with 26 goals. He also ranked 13th in total points with 55. These numbers placed him among the league's most productive players despite his career length. The Penguins' win in Seattle featured scoring from many players: Justin Brazeau, Brian Rust, Igor Chinakhov, Blake Lizotte, and Connor Dewar all scored goals. Evgeny Malkin and Thomas Novak recorded assists. Goaltender Stuart Skinner made 30 saves. 12 Penguins players recorded at least 1 point in the game. Crosby's milestone game also brought him closer to another historical ranking. After the game, he stood 12 points away from tying Steve Yzerman for 7th place on the NHL's all-time regular season points list. That chase continued with each game played. Earlier in the season, Crosby reached another long-term achievement. He recorded his 19th season with at least 50 points. That tied him with Wayne Gretzky and Alex Ovechkin for 6th most 50-point seasons in NHL history. The statistic reflects regular season scoring only. Crosby's consistency has remained visible even as the Penguins have faced challenges in recent years. The team has missed the Stanley Cup playoffs in consecutive seasons. During that time, Crosby has continued to appear regularly in the lineup and remain among the team's top scorers. Over his career, Crosby has recorded 100 or more assists against several NHL teams. These include the Philadelphia Flyers and the New York Islanders. These totals show long-term production across division rivals and frequent opponents. In recent interviews reported by league media, Crosby spoke about younger players entering the NHL. He said that many young players are ready when they arrive and added that he is available if they need support. These comments were reported directly and shared without interpretation. The timing of those remarks came close to his 1/400th game milestone. Media coverage focused on his role within the team and the league. Reports emphasized his continued presence rather than future speculation. As of January 2026, Crosby has played more than 1,400 NHL games. He has recorded more than 1,700 regular season points and nearly 2,000 combined points. These totals place him among the most productive players in league history. The NHL tracks milestones through official league data. Crosby's games played, goals, assists, and points are recorded after each game. Historical rankings update as totals change. Crosby remains a regular presence in Pittsburgh's lineup. He continues to center top lines and play in late-game situations. His average ice time remains high compared to other players of similar age. The game in Seattle did not change Crosby's role. It added another confirmed milestone to an active career. No announcements followed the game regarding retirement or role changes. The Penguins continued their season schedule after the Seattle win. Crosby remained listed on the active roster. His season totals continued to rank among the team's highest. As the season moves forward, Crosby's position on NHL leaderboards continues to change through regular play. Each assist and goal adds to totals that already place him among the league's historical leaders.
Berube has put different pieces on that top line with Matthews and Matthew Nyes when they've remained healthy, but they haven't been able to find a sustained chemistry. So the obvious applies. What about General Manager Brad Treliving? We know that Treliving would love to add another top 6 forward, maybe 2 top 6 forwards.
This shocking statement came less than 48 hours into heavy trade chatter, as trade rumors were everywhere everywhere and injuries had shifted priorities while other teams were making moves. And when the Maple Leafs general manager finally addressed the situation, his words clarified the team's position in a way that made the timing, the setting, and the context impossible to ignore. Brad Treliving, pronounced as Brad Treliving, spoke publicly as the NHL trade deadline window tight, and his comments came after several days of rising speculation around the Toronto Maple Leafs, as reports had linked the team to multiple trade targets, especially on defense. While injuries and lineup gaps pushed the issue into focus, and Treliving addressed those reports directly and confirmed that the front office is evaluating options to improve the roster rather than stepping away from the season. Treliving stated that the Maple Leafs have not given up on the year, and he explained that management continues to review where the team stands and what moves could help in the short term. And according to reporting from editor-in-chief, Treliving said the organization is still looking at ways to make the team better. While he did not describe a sell-off and he did not describe a rebuild, and instead his comments pointed toward measured action. Toronto's defense has been a central concern in recent weeks as Chris Tanev's injury has left the blue line short-handed, and that absence has been cited in multiple reports as a reason the Maple Leafs are looking outward, while Hockey Patrol reported that the team's defensive depth has become a pressure point for management, and the front office is now weighing options that could stabilize that area before the deadline. Treliving did not name specific players or teams during his remarks. However, insiders have connected Toronto to several defensive trade targets across the league, and reports from NHL Trade Talk and Inside the Rink indicated that the Maple Leafs are monitoring the market for right-shot defensemen with playoff experience, and these reports emphasize that cap flexibility remains a key factor in any deal. Salary cap limits play a major role in Toronto's trade planning as the Maple Leafs are operating close to the ceiling, and any incoming contract would likely require salary retention, roster movement, or draft assets going the other way. While Treliving acknowledged that trades at this stage of the season are complex, and he confirmed that negotiations depend on cost, fit, and timing. In recent days, trade speculation around the Leafs has expanded beyond defense, as Yardbarker reported that Toronto is also reviewing forward depth options, and these are not described as headline-level moves, but instead depth-based considerations tied to injuries and schedule demands, while no deals have been finalized and no formal talks have been confirmed by the team. Treliving's comments were also notable for what they did not include, as he did not signal that core players are being shopped, and he did not suggest that draft capital is being moved without caution. And according to multiple outlets, the MPSS7, Maple Leafs remain focused on targeted upgrade, with the goal being to support the existing roster, not dismantle it. This public clarification followed days of league-wide activity, as other teams have already completed major trades, and those moves have reshaped market expectations, and Toronto's front office is observing those shifts closely. Trade history also matters in this situation, as Hockey Patrol noted that Brad Treliving, pronounced as Brad Treliving, has previously encountered roadblocks when pursuing major trades, and past negotiations with other organizations have stalled due to cost or timing, and those experiences shape current strategy. While Treliving's comments suggest that patience remains part of the process, cap-retained deals remain a possible path, as Inside the Rink reported that Toronto may require retained salary to make certain trades workable, and these arrangements often involve third teams or draft pick compensation, while no such deal has been confirmed. Throughout his comments, Treliving maintained a reserved tone, as he avoided speculation and he avoided deadlines and he avoided promises, and his statements were consistent with prior messaging from the organization that the Maple Leafs are assessing, they are listening, and they are prepared to act if the right deal appears. Trade deadline coverage around the league continues to reference Toronto as a watch team, as analysts cite the combination of roster needs and market pressure, and the Leafs' actions over the next several days will depend on availability and price. For now, the confirmed facts remain clear, as Brad Treliving, pronounced as Brad Treliving, has acknowledged active evaluation, and the Maple Leafs are not standing still while defense remains a priority due to injury and cap management. Shapes every discussion, and no core players have been placed on the market, as the front office is operating within a narrow but deliberate window as the trade deadline approaches. Is the team captain and a central figure in the Leafs offense. His presence on the ice remains a key reason why the team wants to add support. According to the latest reports, Treliving is seeking defensemen who can bolster the Maple Leafs lineup. Dreger stated that the Maple Leafs may look for veterans like Luke Schenn, who has history with the team, or Justin Falk, though his contract and no trade list could affect his availability. The defense market in the NHL is described as thin. That means there are not not many available defensemen who meet the Maple Leafs' needs. TSN's Drager explained that Leafs fans could appreciate the focus on defense. He said the primary focus is on the blue line. The Maple Leafs are also considering forward help as part of their trade discussion. Drager noted that there are conversations about players who could be added up front. Front office sources mentioned that Toronto would like to add a backup goaltender if needed, but it is uncertain if that will happen. The trade deadline is a time when NHL teams make final roster adjustments for a playoff push. Tree Living's strategy is now public because of recent reports shared on major NHL news segments. In recent days, multiple articles have noted that Toronto is offering certain players as trade pieces to gain roster flexibility. Reports say that Max Domi, Nick Robertson, Matias Maccelli, and Brandon Carlo could be available in trade talks. David Pagnotta, a hockey insider, commented that the Leafs' desire remains the same. He said Toronto wants to add a puck-moving defenseman and a top-six forward. That comment shows that Treliving has focused on making additions in previous years as well. In Toronto, Matthews' role is central to the team's offensive output, and any roster decision is measured against how it affects his performance. The Maple Leafs' defense has faced challenges this season, making it a priority for Treliving to address that area first in trade talks. The lack of available impact defensemen in the NHL trade market complicates those plans. Schenn's familiarity with the organization is a factor in why he might make sense for Toronto. Justin Falk has also been connected in talks, but his higher cap hit and no trade list limitations could affect any potential deal. Experts note that the Maple Leafs do not have many premium assets available to trade for impact defensemen, meaning their options could be limited. In the forward group, players like Max Domi and Nick Robertson have been listed as potential trade pieces by insiders. Matias Maccelli and Brandon Carlo were also mentioned as players Toronto may be willing to move in trade discussion. The Maple Leafs' record and standing in the Atlantic Division are not part of this trade report, but both on-ice performance and roster health factor into GM decision-making. Matthews' status as captain and top scorer means that roster help is often discussed in terms of augmenting his support. Recent trade chatter indicates that defense remains the top focus for the Leafs front office, ahead of forward additions. Although the trade market is thin, Treliving's priority is to solidify Toronto's defense before the trade deadline. Any addition on defense is expected to have some experience and be able to contribute in key situations. The strategy reflects a balance between improving the current roster and maintaining financial and asset flexibility. As trade conversations continue, the exact deals that Treliving and his front office pursue remain in development. Insiders continue to monitor negotiations and possible player movement as the deadline approaches. Reports indicate that fans and media have reacted to this strategy, noting that defense reinforcement is a top priority for the team. At this stage, the official trade activity has not been announced by the Maple Leafs, but the priorities outlined suggest where Toronto's focus lies. This focused trade priority marks a significant moment in the Maple Leafs season as they prepare for potential roster changes.
I think that's got to be the main, point of focus each and every night. Like, we don't have to be the best team in the world every single night, but we need everybody to compete. We need everybody to just play good. Everybody just has to go out there and do their job and play good. And, just the consistency, that's been a big part of it.
Something changed inside the Maple Leafs room, and it didn't happen during the game. It happened after. One short statement from the captain. Calm words. Sharp meaning. Fans caught it instantly. Media replayed it again and again. The coach had just sent a message. Hours later, the captain answered, and what followed quietly shifted the conversation around this team. The moment came after practice, not during a game. Austin Matthews stood in front of reporters as the Toronto Maple Leafs tried to reset after another difficult stretch. The team had struggled to close games. Defensive lapses had cost points. Pressure was building. Earlier, head coach Craig Berube had addressed the issue directly. He pointed to leadership. He said the team's leaders needed to take more control.
I thought we just made it really easy for them. The neutral zone was, a highway for them to get through, and Yeah, I don't know. We just made it so easy for them, and they're obviously a skilled team, a lot of talent, a lot of speed, and I don't think we put enough stress on them on both sides of the puck.
That context mattered when Matthews spoke. Matthews did not raise his voice. He did not criticize teammates. He did not challenge the coaching staff. His words were measured. "We can all be better," Matthews said. He pointed to the last 2 games and called them frustrating. He added that responsibility would fall on the leaders and said he was fine with that. He stressed grinding, consistency, and sticking to what worked earlier in game. They came hours after Berub's blunt assessment following a loss, when the coach said the leaders had to take control more than they were. Berub's style has been direct since arriving in Toronto. He speaks plainly after losses. He places accountability where he believes it belongs. After recent results, that spotlight turned toward the leadership group. At the same time, Berube had been openly praising Matthews' on-ice play. Before a recent game, Berube said Matthews was driving play, creating chances, and playing with pace and determination. That praise was public. It was specific. It focused on effort and approach, not just scoring. This exchange happened during a stretch filled with major moments for Matthews. He had just returned from injury. Soon after, he broke the Maple Leafs' all-time goal-scoring record, passing Matt Sundin. He scored his 421st goal in fewer games than any player in franchise history. That achievement came during a loss, which kept the focus on team results rather than celebration. Inside that environment, Matthews' words took on extra meaning. The captain was not speaking as a player chasing milestones. He was speaking as the face of the team during a moment of scrutiny. His message echoed the coach's demand for urgency and detail. It reinforced accountability without pointing fingers. Fans noticed the timing. Analysts noted the alignment. The conversation shifted from systems and tactics to leadership and response. The reaction to Matthews' comments spread quickly because of what followed on the ice. In the games surrounding those statements, Matthews' role was clear. His minutes stayed heavy. His matchups stayed difficult. He took key defensive zone faceoffs. He remained on the ice late in close games. Those deployment choices reflected trust from the coaching staff. Craig Berube continued to speak about structure and pace in the days that followed. He did not walk back his earlier comments about leadership. He also did not single out any player. Instead, he repeated that the team needed consistent effort across all 3 periods. His public message remained steady. Matthews' leadership role extended beyond scoring. After returning from injury, he resumed his position on the top line and first power play unit. His ice time remained among the highest on the team. According to NHL game logs, Matthews averaged over 20 minutes per game during that stretch. Those minutes included penalty kill shifts and defensive zone start, areas that often reflect coaching trust. In the days following those remarks, media coverage centered on the connection between the captain and the coach. Analysts replayed both Berube's earlier comments and Matthews' response. The sequence became the story. First, the coach challenged the leaders. Then, the captain answered publicly. Berube continued to praise Matthews' pace and effort in later interviews. Matthews continued to emphasize team play when asked about individual achievements. After breaking the franchise goal record, he redirected attention back to results and consistency. The exchange between coach and captain did not resolve the Maple Leafs' challenges overnight. Wins and losses continued, but the messaging inside the organization became clearer. Accountability was shared, responsibility was acknowledged, expectations were stated publicly, and as the season moved forward, that short statement after practice remained one of the clearest signals yet of how leadership inside the Maple Leafs room was responding to pressure.
With Marty Bureau. Marty, here's an observation I've made. Nothing seems to come easy for this Maple Leafs team.
The Toronto Maple Leafs were not dealing with one bad night or one missing player. The problems were deeper. Defensive numbers told the story. Injuries added weight. Then the general manager broke his silence. He did not shift blame. He did not promise quick fixes. What he admitted placed the entire season under a harsher light.
We're not where we want to be or where we envision to be. Obviously, we've underperformed to this point, and I take full responsibility. I'm in charge of the hockey department. I've put the people in place on the ice, off the ice, so the responsibility lies with myself, and we start today and every day trying to get ourselves back up and going and improve where we are.
The focus moved sharply to Brad Treliving after the Toronto Maple Leafs continued to struggle through the early portion of the season. During a media availability, the general manager addressed the team's performance directly. He stated, "We've underperformed to this point." That statement placed responsibility at the top of the organization, not on individual players or coaching staff, and it marked one of the clearest acknowledgments from the front office this season. Treliving expanded on that position by stating, "I'm in charge of the hockey department. I've put the people in place on the ice, off the ice, so the responsibility lies with myself." The comment removed ambiguity about where accountability rests. At the time of those remarks, the Maple Leafs held an 8-9-2 record. They ranked second last in the Eastern Conference. The team had also allowed the second most goals per game in the league.